What's up, guys? Time for a live stream. I see the chat's already up and running and going, so welcome to the stream. I hope everybody's doing good today. Let me just make sure that the sound is off and all that kind of good stuff. It looks like we're good. So we missed last week, unfortunately. Our heater's out, and it's still out actually, but I decided I can only put off live streaming and all this stuff for so long. We're going to move forward. So I also want to kind of mention one thing. So the problem is it's kind of cool in here, and that's why I didn't do one last week. I'd rather not cast at temperatures below what I usually cast at. And I got a lot of, I posted stuff on Instagram. A lot of people had, like suggestions and stuff. And the problem isn't that I need to warm up the resin. The problem is the curing, and kind of the conditions when you're working with it. I don't really want to cast in conditions that are kind of low. And in the shop, it's the other problem I had. I kind of freaked out and moved everything that was kind of problematic, all the resins and all that kind of stuff into one room, and we put a heater in there to keep it at around 70. The problem was I didn't know how cold it was going to get because we had no heat, really, and we have a 4,000 square foot shop. Luckily, the temperatures weren't that cool so far, and the temperatures haven't really been dropping that low, I guess. I'm not entirely sure what it gets to at the wee hours in the morning, but generally we have kind of a couple heaters that we can kind of warm the shop up with a little bit. But the biggest problem is I don't like selling blanks. You can get away with, casting in cooler temperatures, but I don't like selling products that were made in temperatures that I don't really feel comfortable with. I want to keep consistency. And so that's kind of one of the problems. So today I thought we could do some candy cane blanks. I'm only going to make a couple of them, and I'm not going to be selling these specific ones just because the temperature is a little bit lower than normal, and I'm just not 100% sure how they're going to turn. So they're going to be mine. But I do sell candy cane bottle stoppers on my website, and they were cast a long time ago in favorable conditions. So there's a link to those if anybody wants to pick one of these things up. But anyway, so for anybody that doesn't know, I do have a video that kind of covers cold temperatures and casting on my channel here. So just search for that if you want to learn a little bit more. But basically the problem is resins need heat to cure, and you don't really want to be in too cold a condition. There's also kind of an issue with storing resins in cooler temperatures. If it gets too cold, it can kind of damage them. So just a couple things to think about. It's good to keep your resin stored in a warm place. Like, you want to be kind of close to room temperature. 70 degrees is kind of the best temperature. And you don't want to leave blanks that have been cast already, take them out of the pressure pot or demold them, and then leave them in a garage or something like that is dropping like to freezing temperatures. That's going to instantly stop the curing process, which, for all resins, they usually take 5 to 7 days to fully cure. And if you leave it in a really cold temperature while it's continuing to cure, even though it's fully hardened, it's still continuing to cure. So you want to keep that up. And one other thing I want to mention is there is a way to, you can like bake them, post-cure them, they call it. And every resin manufacturer will probably have information on, what they recommend if you're going to try to post-cure things. You basically would put it in the oven. I don't know how to do this. I would have to do a lot of testing to figure out how to do this for the blanks I sell. So I just haven't even ventured down that road because I haven't had to, but you basically would put them in an oven. And let's say that the temperature that the manufacturer recommends is like 130 degrees. You would leave them in 130 degree temperature for some amount of time, and it'll accelerate the curing process. So there are ways around this, but most of us are just kind of, in a garage shop or something like that. And if it's something that's not, constantly heated, store your resins inside. And when you do cast something, so you bring the temperature up to, let's say 65 degrees in your shop, you're working, you cast stuff. When you take them out, or in some cases, if you're using like an epoxy that takes 9 hours or 24 hours or something like that, you would want to bring the entire pressure pot inside while it's doing that stuff. But for Alumilite and stuff that's going to be, demolded within an hour or two, take it out of the pressure pot and bring those blanks inside so that they can cure in the proper heat. So anyway, we started out with all that kind of stuff. Let's switch cameras and talk about what we're doing today. Just public service announcements for resin casting. So this is what we're going to make. I've done these, quite a few of them actually, and we've made some on the live stream when I was doing the streams on Twitch. And these are the ones that I sell on my website. But they're pretty cool. Hard candies like candy canes cast just fine. You're not going to run into any problems with them. And they turn fine too. You might want to be, a little bit more careful. One thing that I also recommend, don't load up the entire blank with a bunch of candy, because there is a structural problem. If the entire blank is just candy, then, turning it's going to be a little bit a little hairy, because there's not a lot of strength to it. It may be possible to stabilize them, but I don't know. I think that you would change the color of them. So I've never even tried that. And like I said, I've gotten through turning these, many times. There's no problem with it as long as you're a little bit careful. The one thing that you do have to worry about though is you can't get, so once you've turned this, so this, a lot of people make like bottle stoppers out of these, or maybe like a Christmas ornament. So, you'd shape this, you'd turn into it. The problem is eventually you're going to expose some of that candy cane, and you do not want to wet sand candy canes or any other kind of candy, because water will melt it. So it can turn into kind of a sticky mess at that point. So that is the one thing that you don't want to do. And so don't wet sand your blanks, just dry sand them very carefully. And then you want to put a top coat on top of these, like a CA finish or something like that. Seal off any exposed candy canes so that no moisture can get to them and melt them or anything like that. But other than that, they're pretty fun. They're kind of cool. So what we got here is we're going to make 2 of these guys. I'm just using PVC pipe, a couple of 1.5-inch PVC pipes. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use liquid diamonds epoxy. To be honest, I usually use Alumilite Clear Slow Set. With the temperature, so just to let you guys know, I would not cast anything below 60 degrees. I don't really like that. You're starting to kind of border on a little bit too cold for most resins. And with Alumilite Clear Slow Set, it is formulated to not get that hot when it cures. That's why you can pour large volumes, amounts of it at once. So for that one, I am not casting that until we get our heater fixed, because I don't really want to be much below 65 when I'm casting that stuff, just to make sure that everything goes, perfectly smooth. So I thought we'd go for a little bit of epoxy. I don't know if it's probably going to heat up hotter than Alumilite Clear Slow Set. So I think that we are a little bit safer using something like that. Or even Alumilite Clear Regular Set. If you're in kind of pretty cold temperatures, that's what I would probably go with for most things. And I don't have that on hand. So just to let you guys know, little liquid diamonds, some PVC pipes, and some candy canes. So it should be pretty fun. So let me get the cameras kind of set up over here. Again, this was just something that I pulled from my stock inventory as a kind of an example. I'm going to be using the silicone stoppers. I only have one of these. Chad still hasn't sent me the rest of them. But these are pretty awesome, especially for something like this where we're not really trying to glue down something to the bottom. These little rubber silicone stoppers are an easy way to stop up, your PVC pipes. So those are available on turnerswarehouse.com. Chad's got I want to say 10 different sizes, and they go up to, I believe I think he's got the 4-inch. Let me actually go look real quick. I got my browser open. He didn't have 3 and 4-inch before, but I mean, that was back when I went down there for a class. So let me just look on his website and see if he's got all the sizes now. He was needed to do a little testing. Oh, doesn't look like. I guess the biggest one that he's got on his website right now is the 2-inch plug, but 3 and 4-inch are going to be coming soon. So just to let you guys know about that. Now the other thing, so I only have one of those. The other way we're going to do it is we're going to hot glue one of these pipes to an HDPE piece. That's a pretty easy way to do that. One thing I want to mention also with that, and I'll get a camera in, but I just want to mention it real quick before I do it. I've seen a lot of people putting glue, doing this same idea, but they actually put the glue on the bottom part of their pipe. And that's probably a smarter way to make sure that bottom part is sealed. I usually do it kind of around the base. And, I don't know, I haven't done a lot on the bottom, but I thought that I would try that. I thought it was kind of an interesting way to do it, applying the glue to the bottom of the pipe instead of just putting it down and then taking the glue gun and going around there. It's probably a little bit better of a seal, possibly. Maybe doing both will give you bulletproof results kind of thing. So let me stop and say hi to everybody, see who's here. There's a lot of people here, wow. So is everybody getting ready for Christmas and the holidays and all that kind of good stuff? It's coming up pretty quick, and luckily I am I'm pretty much ready, like with gifts and all that kind of good stuff. I think we're ready to rock for the most part. I still have some that I need to kind of pick up, but they're kind of like online things where like gift certificate type of things. So I don't have a whole lot of stuff left to do. And I will be ready. And the other nice thing that's going on is we finally got the ski resorts opened up here. So, and I got to go snowboarding last Tuesday, and it was a beautiful day up there, man. Gotta be honest. Beautiful day. And we got pretty good snow early this year, I would say. It was funny, in November, it was like totally dry and sunny, and there's no snow at all up there. And then mid-December at this point, we've got more snow than we had mid-January last year. And so it was funny because in November, everybody was so worried that we're not going to get any snow. And I don't know, like it's never going to snow up here or something. And then now everybody's like, oh, we got a lot of snow. We're getting another storm this weekend, so woo! Okay, so we got our camera over here. And let me switch to this casting view. I'm gonna get a light. You know what, guys? Just to let you know, I'm gonna be taking the week between Christmas and New Year's off, basically. And one of the things that I plan to do during that time is I would like to rearrange my shop. I don't really like that this casting area is kind of off against the wall in the corner, kind of. It really doesn't work very well for videotaping stuff because there's no lights. I don't have any lighting right above me except for these little tiny ones. So hopefully this will kind of help out a little bit. But I'd like to try and see if I can kind of fix things and make it better. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is get this thing mounted onto my HDPE. Like I said, these plugs are much easier. They're not coming out. They're rock solid, the ones from Turner's Warehouse. So that one's ready to go pretty much. But we need to hit these with some Stoner mold release. And I've found that for liquid diamonds, the Stoner urethane mold release works fine. It actually does the job, even though it's technically formulated for urethane resin, which is Alumilite. But what I do is I just coat it really well. And I find that they pop out just fine. With liquid diamonds anyway. I don't know if that holds true for every kind of epoxy. I don't really like the thermoset. That's the other Stoner mold release, and I think a lot of them are kind of the same way. The thermoset stuff is like cooking oil. It's nasty. It makes it greasy and it runs, and I really don't like that stuff. So I'd rather just go with this the urethane one. It just seems more, I don't know how to explain it. It's just not as like spraying a bunch of grease in there. All right, so we got them sprayed. And one thing that I like to do is wipe off the bottoms. So whichever side I'm going to actually glue down. Looks like I kind of have resin on both of these sides. I'm going to scrape the bottom of this thing off. There's a couple like resin drips on the edge. I don't like that. I want to have this bottom part as flat as possible. So I grabbed a scraper over here, and I'm just making sure that this thing is totally flat. We don't have resin splotch things. All right, so we got that. I'm going to go get my hot glue gun, plug that in. Jamie Page, how was the magical mystery tour with Carl, man? What was that all about? Are you back home now? You had a pretty cool holiday little vacation thing. All right, so our hot glue gun, and by the way, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. I didn't actually think you were gonna be here. I thought you were still magical mystery touring. I was surprised and caught off guard. Oh, Mike McEwen's here. How's it going, buddy? Who else? Billy Burt, Kim, man, Brian's here. TBC Bushings, woo! Ricky, man, a lot of you guys. Shop Dog, what's up? Jen's here, sweet. Yeah, I'm gonna make a mess. So actually, you know what? While we're sitting here messing with this stuff, waiting basically, I think I'm gonna grab this upper camera and tilt it downward. Let's see how this goes. What I'm gonna do is actually, I wanna get my resin going now because for one of these, I'm gonna do it exactly like this. We're just basically shoving some candy canes in there and pouring resin in, okay? So that's simple. There's no reason to sit around and wait for your resin to thicken up or anything like that. Just pour it right away. But for the other one, I thought it might be kind of fun to add just a hint of glitter. So I got some red and some green glitter. And the problem is though, with glitters, you have to wait. So I think we're gonna get this stuff mixed up now and start the timer. It doesn't help in this case that it's cooler than normal in the shop. That's gonna extend the working time. So I wanna get this stuff mixed up as soon as I can. So let's just skip ahead to that step real quick here. See what's happening. Joy's here, how's it going? Lots of people are here. Mert's here, what's up? Okay, so these things, I'm estimating that we need maybe like about 80 grams or something like that, 80 or 90. 90 is a good one. The liquid diamonds is a 2-to-1 ratio, so I can go 60 in one, 30 in the other. But we're gonna make 2 of them, so we're gonna double that. So I got my cup here, zeroing it out. And I already wrote down all of my notes and stuff for this. So what it is we're gonna do 120 grams of part A, and 60 grams of part B. And you can get liquid diamonds at Turner's Warehouse. Chad's got everything, I'm telling you. Another little newsy thing. A lot of you guys are probably wondering what happened to our podcast. And the problem was Casey has been doing school finals and stuff. I see smoke coming from somewhere. I just want to make sure there's no cords melting or anything like that. Anyway, Casey's at school and he had finals, so he's been kind of trying to get the semester over with, but there should be a new episode up Sunday for the Resin Cast podcast with me and Casey. So that's fun. 119, we're getting there, guys. I went over that time. Went a little bit over. I'm going to take some of this stuff out because I went over and I don't really want to I don't need more. Okay, so we got our part A side done. Let's see if I can see what's happening here. That there, zero that out, and we'll open up our part B. And we need 60 grams of part B, so half of what I put in, half of the part A. 30, 40, 50. And I like to just pour a little bit into a smaller cup when I start getting close. These big jugs are just not really that easy to sneak up on things. So I just put a little bit in a little cup here. That way I have a little bit more control. $59. Who's excited about the Star Wars movie coming out? I'm bummed that this is the last one. Gretchen and I have been watching all of them. We started with number 1, and we've watched all of them, including Solo and Rogue One. So we got one more to go, actually, before the movie. We got the number 8 to watch still. Okay, 59.9. All right, we're there, 60. All right. Cover that up, and we'll start mixing this stuff. I am coming to Maker Central, Mark. Definitely. Yep. Eric's from Ohio. Nice. Oh. So, like I was saying about the cold temperatures, what I'm doing here is when that thing's ready, I got a batch of blanks in the pressure pot right now. So I need to get that out of there, and what I'm going to do is take this into that room that we've got a heater in and keep that at 70 until it's ready to be cut. So the nice thing about nice thing about Alumilite white resin, a lot of you guys probably wonder why I don't really do anything with that, and I don't really think it's very valuable for most people. It is an opaque resin, totally opaque, so if you just mix part A and part B, it turns stark white, totally opaque. And it's only got a 2-minute working time, which makes it extremely difficult to use. So I don't really think, I started using that originally, so I know how to use it, but I just don't find it very valuable to people. You can't use any pearl powders or anything like that in it. You can't really, it's a tough resin. It's not very good I wouldn't use it for hybrids. You don't really want to, put stuff in it either. It's not the best. Alumilite clear is much better, or epoxy. So anyway, the whole point is, that's what I use for a lot of my pen blanks. When I started resin casting, I liked the idea of just being able to add dyes and not having to ever worry about painting the tubes. That's the beauty of that totally opaque stuff. So that stuff is pretty quick, and it only has a 3, so literally I can take it out of the pressure pot in 30 minutes. That's another advantage. And it's only got a 3-day full cure schedule. That's the nice thing. So I can just leave it in that room for 3 days, and I'm good to go. They're ready. Don't have to worry about them anymore. I like to mix up epoxy really, really well. I find that Alumilite clear, when it doesn't have any haziness left in it, it's ready. You've mixed it properly. But with epoxies, I think that it's better. You got a lot of working time with most of them. I think you're better off mixing for a few minutes just to make entirely sure, because if you don't mix it properly, you're going to have problems. It's going to cure funny or be sticky or all kinds of stuff. Okay, so we got that ready. I'm going to hit my timer just so I know. I'm also going to use, a kind of a better method is to use your heat gun or the temperature gun and keep an eye on it. Now, I don't know what the optimal temperature is for liquid diamonds to keep things separated and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to kind of look at its consistency, its thickness, and we're just going to go from there. So worst case scenario, the glitter may fall to the bottom, because I don't usually use this stuff that much. So I just don't know exactly, when the perfect time is. Plus it's cooler in my shop than I would normally be working anyway. So a lot of things get kind of screwed up. Oh, I should probably switch cameras, huh? So I'm going to be applying this glue directly onto the rim of this little thing. So hopefully you can see that. I thought it was kind of a smart idea. It's a little bit harder, I'd say, to kind of get it on there. I'm like shaking and missing half of it. But I think it's a pretty smart way to go, because then you push it down and there's pretty much no way that you're going to get any leaks, I would say. So I'm just going to stick it down. And then if you really want to be careful and make sure that there's absolutely no leaks, you can put another little bead on the outside of this as well. And there's just like no way that it's going to leak on you. All right, so that is definitely good. We got that nice and sealed up. And then we got our other one. That one's, oh, you know what? I'm going to have to switch. These are made kind of perfect for the height of these candy canes, but this plug, here's something to keep in mind, is going to not work as well because it's higher. So I'm going to get a different tube that's a little bit taller. Hopefully that made sense. I'll show you guys again what I'm talking about in a second here. In case anybody missed that. So I'm going to switch to this other camera view because I can see better. Oops. Okay, so these PVC pipes, I cut them to be kind of the right size for these a while ago. And the problem is when you stick these plugs in there, the plug adds like ½ an inch of space. In my tube, which is going to push up where the candy cane sits. It's going to be kind of hanging out of the thing. So I'm going to just spray this tube. Get that nice and sprayed. And then we're going to use that one instead. So I'm just spraying this with a good amount of stoner, mold release. Okay, now we don't have to worry about that. So we got our bigger, taller tube. The one problem with this, The one problem with this is it's kind of going to be hard for me to get in there. Sometimes you need to kind of get in and move around the stuff. So I think I'm going to go cut this pipe. I'm going to cut this pipe. So moving this other one up, I'm going to cut it. It's almost where that mark is, but yeah. Let me get a Sharpie out. I want to get this thing set up correctly, the way that I like to do it, so that I can have a reference for the future. Because I plan to get more of these little silicone plugs from Chad and use them for this type of a thing. So I'm going to go over and cut this pipe down a little bit, right where I did that mark. So I will be right back. I guess I could put the camera up so you can kind of see what I'm up to. Sort of. All right. And I usually just cut these on the table saw with a miter gauge, clamp them to the miter gauge fence. It works pretty well, pretty quick, pretty easy. And you get a good cut. You can cut them on the bandsaw. I don't love cutting circular things, round things on bandsaws too much. They just don't, they move around a lot. But I'm sure there's ways that you can, if you use a V-block on a bandsaw, it wouldn't be so much of a problem. All right, so I'm going to mute you guys for a sec. Get my clamp out. Clamp that guy down. Mute you. All right, now I got to blow out all the little plastic things from the cut. In fact, I think I'm going to wipe this down because it had a bunch of stoner in it. So I think I'm actually just going to wipe this thing out completely. You don't want little floaters in a clear casting. That's kind of not good. So wipe that out real good. Blow it out again. And then I'm going to reapply the stoner to this now. So sorry about the hold up there. I haven't cast any of these candy cane blanks since I've gotten those little stopper things. All right, so now look at this. Boom. Now it is the perfect height for me to get in there. Kind of the same as this one. Oh, get in the hole. All right. Rocking and rolling, guys. I'm going to switch gloves because I was spraying that stoner, and I don't really want to be touching these candy canes with stonered gloves. All right. Back to the casting view. Actually, I think we'll go back to the intro view. There we go. So let me stop real quick, see what you guys are up to. Somebody's got a bird. What is it? Oh, man. Will I be back on EasyWood tool stand again? Yeah, probably. I'm still figuring out all the details with stuff, but I think I'm probably going to be doing demos for EasyWood tools and possibly for House of Resin again as well. Just got to kind of, like I said, figure out some of the little minor details. Well, I've only talked to those two companies, and neither of them have their like schedule set up yet or anything like that. So I have absolutely no details on what exactly they're going to be doing. All right, so let's see here. Why don't we just get this one? Let's knock this one out real quick. We're just going to do the one with where we're just pouring clear in there. So I'm going to switch to the casting view. Get that kind of close. Sorry about the kind of terrible lighting, guys. Like I said, that is something that I hope to change over the break. All right, now again, one thing that you don't want to do is really load these things up in here. You want to have a good amount of resin so that the blank is still structurally sound. All right, so about 5 or 6 of these candy canes generally works pretty well. You get a lot of color. You know, it looks good. So like this one, it's got about 6, I think, in there. It's got good color and everything. It looks cool, but there's, you know, quite a bit of clear, you know, resin to keep the blank intact. So I'm going to pour this in. I don't know exactly how much resin I need yet, so I'm just going to fill it up about halfway. And I'm sure that I have more resin than I need. I think last time I poured, you know, using this size mold, about maybe 75 or 80 grams. And I just, you know, I got at least 90 per thing. So one thing that's good to do is to kind of, you know, loop these over top of each other. Well, that didn't really stay, but, you know, kind of like thread them in between each other. That'll kind of help out. And we'll do the one right, maybe like that. All right, so I think that's pretty good. Now I'm just going to fill it up. Also, one thing that I'm going to do here is just kind of roll this around and try and make sure that it's getting on the outsides of anything that's kind of, any of those things are kind of touching the edge. Just spread it around a little bit, make sure we got it fully wrapped there. And then just top it off. All right, so that one's easy. That's as easy as it gets. I mean, this is kind of like pasta. You know, you guys know that I like casting pasta blanks because you basically just shove it in resin and you're good to go. The only thing that you have to worry about, same with pasta, is moisture, like water. After you've turned it, you need to make sure that you've sealed that off after you've shaped it with, cut into it and all that stuff. But other than that, I mean, we're done. So I'm going to get this thing ready to go. We're just going to pop it in the pressure pot. I don't need to pressurize it right now. I still have a lot of working time with the resin. But I'm just going to stick that there, cover it so that no dust or anything gets in there, and that one's done. Now, we have quite a bit of time to wait for the other one. And again, on this one, what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of that glitter. Now, the resin's well, it's pretty thin, actually. A lot of people have problems with glitter, even this glitter, the tinsel glitter, with epoxies and stuff like that. Alumilite Clear Slow Set, I don't have any problems keeping it suspended at all. I do kind of wait a little bit closer to the end of the working time. And the advantage that Alumilite Clear Slow Set, either one of them, regular or slow, the advantage to that stuff is, if you work kind of close to the end of the working time, it's gonna like solidify within like a minute or two, after you've put it in the pressure pot, depending on when what time you've waited till. But I just find that Alumilite Clear Slow Set, both the regular and the slow set have the kind of the same viscosity, I would say. It's got a thick enough viscosity that it just doesn't sink or float or do anything. It just kind of stays there. So I don't know, but I have a feeling Liquid Diamonds is probably not going to be as forgiving in that sense. So one thing that I can do real quick, let me get this camera kind of closer so you can see hopefully what's going on here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put a little bit of glitter in there. The other thing is I don't really want a lot of glitter in here. I don't want it to make it take up a lot of the view. I want the candy canes to be the most prominent thing. But I'm just going to put a little bit of this green. It's really not that much at all. And I'm going to put a little bit of the red. And we're just going to kind of keep an eye on this. If it really doesn't move at all, then we may be able to just do this and not really worry that it's going to move too much. But if it starts sinking kind of right away, then we really need to wait till the end of the working time. So again, not that much. And then I'm going to mix it in here. I want to get it in the resin. If you just let it sit on the surface like that, that may not really be enough to actually like kind of break the surface and have it sink. So let's see if we can get a really good view for you guys so you can kind of watch this stuff. I'm looking at it and I'm pretty sure that many of them are sinking. So we'll have to kind of keep an eye on this a little bit, but I have a feeling if we dumped it in and put it in the pressure pot, I'm pretty sure that it's only been about 15 minutes. I have a feeling this stuff's going to have an hour working time, probably. So we need to wait at least 45 minutes, maybe an hour or so, before we pour this resin into the mold. So one thing that I just kind of thought of, some of this glitter is going to get kind of trapped on the candy canes and it's not going to sink any further. So that's one thing to think about. But for the most part, glow powder is the worst. That stuff just sinks like a rock. It's basically like sticking sand in there. So I find that stuff's really hard. Oh, hey, Randy, thanks for the super chat, bud. I appreciate it. Yeah, glow powder is tough. I honestly don't really even like working with it because it usually doesn't, it sinks to the bottom. You'd have to wait till it starts to get to the point where it's questionable. Like you might have waited too long with glow powder sometimes. So yeah, that looks like it's sinking. Not all of it though. But I think it's sinking ever so slowly. That again, within like, 45 minutes or something like that, half an hour to 45 minutes, I think, which is the time in which it would take for this resin to finally set up. This isn't really a lot of resin either. It's not a very big mass, which means, I mean, it could actually even go longer than an hour of total working time before it's really kind of set up. So I might, yeah, it sinks faster than a rock. It's terrible stuff. Ah, the Alumilite glow. But the thing is, it depends on how much you put in there. That's the other problem. Because if you want it to be really glowy, you have to put a lot in there. And so you could put just a little dusting, but it's not going to be as impressive. That's what I've found with most of them. I don't think that any of them are any different. They all work. They're all basically the same stuff. I think a lot of it's actually, there's a couple different types, but I think a lot of it is actually what is sandpaper? Aluminum oxide or something like that. It's some sort of an element, like a metal kind of thing, like a rock or something. So yeah, I think this stuff is gonna sink. So we have two options here. I don't think that anybody wants to sit around and watch this stuff, and I don't have a whole lot of other stuff to do on the stream, unfortunately. So I think what might be the best thing for us is maybe we should probably end the stream now, because like I said, I don't have anything else to do, unfortunately, and I do have to make a few blanks. I didn't plan that well. I thought this was going to be pretty quick one anyway. But I think what might be best is to close down the stream. Actually, we'll hang around for like 5 or 10 more minutes. We'll just do like a Q&A type thing, but I'm going to have to wait like 30 to 45 minutes before I can even pour this thing. So I don't know if that's really, like I said, I don't think, I can't sing and dance for 30 to 45 minutes. So I think what I'll do is we'll kind of do a little Q&A type thing. If anybody has any burning questions having to do with resin casting or anything like that. And then I might be able to like stream it or at least do a video of it and post it to Instagram when I actually pour this in. What do you guys say to that? That's kind of the best compromise that I can come up with. So unfortunately, you'd have to have an Instagram account, but it would be on Instagram or Facebook. I'll post it to both of them. So how about that? That's the best I can do, I think. But I don't want to have to make you guys just hang out and do nothing until I can pour the resin. This is one of the big reasons why I like using Alumilite Clear, because you can get things done so much faster, and I don't really like sitting and waiting for stuff. Mert, I don't want to use Alumilite because I only have slow set and it's pretty cold. We're kind of at the bottom of the temperature scale that I would actually want to cast slow set in. And this is, again, it's really not that much mass. So Alumilite Clear slow set, if you're trying to do dead clear things, you definitely want it to be warm. Now I want to mention one other thing. There are ways that you can kind of get around things. I've seen people put like, heating pads around their pressure pots. And, there's things that you can do to get around, cool temperatures in your shop and casting. But I don't have any of that stuff. And eventually our heater is going to get fixed. So I'm just kind of holding out for that. But anyway, yeah, there should be a live stream next week. I'll have to kind of figure out what's going on. I got to be honest, I have no clue when we're going to get our heater fixed. The problem we have is if it was up to me, I would go buy a heater and have it installed tomorrow. The problem is we have to wait for the landlord to buy one sometime and then then figure out, ship it here and then have somebody install it. So it's kind of a weird up in the air where both my dad and I are just kind of like, great, we're just kind of screwed right now. But I should have a stream next week and I'll try and come up with something fun to do. I was actually thinking about maybe doing like a platter blank with some kind of Christmassy stuff, like a Christmas platter would be kind of fun. So we'll have to kind of see what's going on next week. The other thing that I actually want to mention really quick, I'm just going to drag this camera over. I started working on on the, how do I get this thing off of here? On the, so it's going to be shaky cam for a second here, guys. Sorry about that. Out of the way, tripod. Started working on the grapevine blank, finally. It kind of sat on my, on the desk, on the counter for a long time. And I finally got a glue block on the back of it. And I got it trued up finally. As you can see, this is a messy mess, but it's looking pretty cool so far. So I'll be making a sphere with this. I'm hoping to get this thing done, hopefully maybe by the end of the week, something like that. I don't know. The video will take a little while because it's probably going to be quite a bit of footage. But that's something that's kind of fun and interesting. Worst case scenario, I can maybe, if I haven't finished it, I can maybe turn that a little bit on the live stream. So anyway. What is Maker Central? It is a really cool, yeah, it's like an expo thing for all kinds of different makers to get together. It's put on by Nick Zametti. If you're interested in my channel, you probably know Nick. And he does, you know, the same kind of resin casting and turning and all that kind of stuff. He and Jim Overton kind of set this thing up where all these makers get together, and it's lots of different disciplines. There's, you know, wood turning, resin casting, there's woodworking, there's fabrication, there's prop and costume stuff. There's, I mean, literally anything you can think of making stuff with your hands. And generally it's YouTubers. It's kind of a YouTube type thing. But it's over in the UK in Birmingham at the NEC. And so it's May, I want to say, let me look it up. May 2nd? I don't know. I'm going to look up the date for you just to make sure. Yeah, May 2nd and 3rd. So next year. And it's just amazing. It's a really awesome event. I'm going to be going. Tons and tons of other people are going from YouTube. I went last year, and it was just an amazing event. It's actually the best event, I would say, that I've been to. And I go to a lot of wood turning symposiums, and I've been to Maker Faire. This was a while ago, a few years ago, but I've been to Maker Faire Bay Area, which is a huge one. And that one's really cool, but Maker Central just seemed a little bit more all-encompassing. And it's, like I said, it's all YouTubers pretty much. So it's pretty cool, and it's put on by Nick. All the people that were there were amazing. So if you are anywhere near, the UK, if you can get over there, I highly recommend it. The tickets are pretty cheap. I want to say they're like $40 or something like that. So pretty cool event. So I hope to see you there. Awesome is what it is. Yes, Jamie will be there. Who else is going to be there? I'm not sure. I think well, Mark's Shop Dog Workshop's gonna be there, I think. And who else? I'm just scrolling through. Doug, is Doug going to Pole Barn Productions? Might be there, maybe. We got to get Doug out there. Yeah. So anyway, it's pretty cool. So let's see. Yeah, it's open to anyone. You just go to their. Let me just get the link here. Here's the link to it. Boom! You get your tickets there. And I recommend, if it's something that you're seriously considering, I would recommend getting tickets earlier, because they kind of, a lot of times if you wait till the last minute, they may sell out. So if it's something that you're serious about, you know, definitely just pick up your tickets now, or, you know, soon as you've made your decision, go get your tickets. And then and there's a lot more information on that website, you know, who's coming and what all is going on. But it's definitely awesome. Once Alumilite is fully cured, does it leach chemicals? I would I don't think so. For the most part, all of these resins and things, and this goes for like top coat finishes, pretty much once they're fully cured, they're inert. You know, they shouldn't leach or do anything weird. But to make sure, I would contact Alumilite directly and just ask them and make sure that it will be compatible for that use. And there's no kind of weird leaching of anything. The one thing that I will caution you about is, you know, the Alumilite, the resin itself, I'm pretty sure, like I said, I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure that once it's fully cured, and it's just basically a block of plastic. shouldn't leach or do anything weird. Some of the stuff that you may put in there, dyes and things like that, that may be problematic. So again, I think that Alumilite, call them. Carol over there should be able to help you out. She should be able to help you and answer any questions for that kind of thing. To make sure. You want to make sure you don't want to kill your fish. It's better to ask questions first. So, cool. So does anybody have any other random resin casting questions or things? I'm sorry that it's kind of a short one today, but I'm looking at this stuff. Yeah, it's tending to just kind of fall to the bottom in that cup. So I think it's a good idea that we wait. We're at about 27 minutes right now on that clock, but I think it's going to take an hour before it's ready to pour. A lot of people make things for aquariums though, so I think it's probably fine. It may be a case where you just need to find the correct resin, but if Alumilite doesn't work for that, which I think it would, I'm pretty sure that you can find some resin that will work for that kind of stuff. There's lots of them. I mean, remember the coral stuff that we cast? So this stuff, I bought it off of Amazon, and it's coral that's meant to go in an aquarium. And this stuff is made out of polyester resin, that stuff is like super chemical-y stuff. And these types of things are being sold for aquariums, which tells me, not to say that polyester resin is definitely safe, but it kind of tells me that, if there's so much of that stuff out there, I'm guessing that resins, once they're fully cured, are fine. Yeah, SWAT is really good. That's probably the best wood turning symposium, I would say, in the country. Best way to make your own mold: go get some silicone. Or go get some HDPE. I have a video on HDPE molds, and I've got some on silicone. Pretty simple process though. I mean, I just screw these things together. If you're going, again, for blocks that you're gonna continually use the same size, I would highly recommend get HDPE material. If you're going for something else, like a different type of thing. If you're trying to copy things, then silicone's a really good one. Silicone will work for block molds as well. And then if you're doing something that's round, I would just use PVC. That's probably the easiest way. Let's see. Yeah, I like Alumilite. I'm so used to it. I've been using it for a long time now, and when I'm using like epoxies and things, I'm like, why am I sitting here waiting for this? It's fine for certain things, and I will say, there's certain things that I don't use Alumilite for. I actually would rather use, I use liquid diamonds for label blanks, for dead clear castings like that. I prefer that more personally. You get a little bit of UV blockage with liquid diamonds, and this would probably work. It wouldn't matter which epoxy, but I kind of like the slower setting ones for stuff like that. So there are some things that I don't like Alumilite for, but they're very few and far between because it works for most of the stuff I do. So hopefully that helped you, David. Like I said, search my channel. I have a video on making HDPE molds, how I do it. And then I have some videos making silicone molds. It's pretty simple and pretty easy. I just ordered some silicone from Alumilite because I want to actually, when I made the video about the coral, I wanted to make molds of these things so I can make whatever kind of coral I want. And I needed to get some more silicone for that. Another thing, if you're a pen turner in the States, we're talking about events and things, like gatherings, meetup things. If you're into pen turning, there's also a lot of pen turning gatherings all over the States. There's a lot of them this year. I think there's one in Colorado. There's one in Southern California, like the LA area. There is one in Ohio. There's one in Chicago, I want to say, somewhere Midwest like that. And there's one down in like Georgia, maybe the Atlanta area, something like that. And there's probably maybe one or two more that I'm missing. So if you're into pen turning, those things are really fun too, and there's quite a few of them around the country. That's in the US. What's the best epoxy for adult toys? I have no clue, man. Let's see. I've never used Total Boat. I gotta be honest, most epoxies are all kind of the same. I like the working properties of liquid diamonds the best. It's got a relatively short demold time, which is kind of how long you need to keep it in the pressure pot. It's just like an overnight thing, 9 hours. A lot of them are like 24 hours or some of them are even longer than that. And I don't like that. I don't like having to keep things in a pressure pot that long. It's also extremely clear. It's one of the clearest resins I've ever found, and that's why I like it for label blanks. And it's extremely, like the viscosity of it is super thin. So I like it for, what I use it for is for like micarta. If I need to soak stuff, I'm going to use that. If I need long working times, it's got a 45-minute working time, which is kind of at the upper end of, you know, the working times. Some of them, there are some that are longer, but 45 minutes is good. So that it gives me time when I need it. It also is thin, clarity. It's got some UV blockers. So it's the epoxy that I like. And I honestly, most of the other ones just don't really have the characteristics that I like. And so that's kind of how you need to buy. You know, if you're looking at like which resin should I use, you need to just look at their working characteristics and find one that does what you want. You know, there's lots of different choices out there. So no, I haven't used it yet. I'm sure it's fine, but it's like any other epoxy. And I've seen it's, you know, like the specifications, they don't do anything that the stuff that I already use do. So, Eric, pen's your specialty. Nice. You need to go to a pen turning thing. Are you going to any of them? What if part B has turned a light amber color? Well, is that on the liquid diamonds? Because mine is a little bit, it's a little bit darker than the A. What all you need to do is do a test sample. If it cures fine and clear, then it doesn't matter. One thing to mention about epoxies and resins in general, the color of it can change slightly, and that's based, sometimes it's bad. So I'm not going to say this is 100% every time, but the raw materials that they use kind of change sometimes, and that can actually affect the color of it, but it may not do anything to the end result, basically. So always test it and make sure. And as long as it's, you know, curing fine and it looks fine, then you're good to go. Let's see, Amazing Clear Cast. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Amazing Clear Cast. It's so thick that it's just, but I will say I'm gonna be doing some stuff with it. Illumilite sent me some Amazing Clear Cast, and I'm gonna be playing with it for micarta purposes. They actually wanted to know how does it work, so I said send it to me. I'll make some. So that's coming, but I need to get the shop warm again before I can start using that stuff. I don't want to do tests in unfavorable conditions. So let's see. All right, so we're at about 35 minutes. The resin is still extremely thin viscosity. So honestly, guys, I think we got probably about 20 to 30 minutes left. So I think that we will probably just wrap this up. I apologize for kind of a, we didn't finish it, but be looking today on Instagram. I will get a camera in here when I'm actually pouring this stuff, so you can kind of see it being poured, see what we did, and then I'll pop it into the pressure pot. And so I'll do a post, like I said, it'll be on Instagram or Facebook, that you can kind of see the end of the pouring stuff. So next week we will be doing a live stream. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do yet. It'll kind of depend on what's going on in my shop. Hopefully we'll have a heater, but I'm not holding my breath on that. So anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Have a good night. I will be putting a video up on Sunday as well. And it's about fire safety in the shop, kind of dealing with drying wood out. So be looking for that video Sunday. And I think that's about it. So let me stop really quick and make sure that I'm not missing anything. I don't think so. Nope. Okay. I don't think there was any other questions. So I will see you guys all next Friday. Be looking on Instagram and Facebook for the ending of our pour tonight. So have a great night, guys.